terminated abnormally, and after that abnormal statement, after the exception occurred, if you have any lines of code, that code simply discarded, right? So if you don't handle the exceptions, it always leads to an abnormal termination of your program, right? So they are runtime errors, fine, and we have to handle them, right? So to handle these runtime errors, we take the help of a exception section in PLSQL block, right? The exception section in PLSQL block. So exception section starts with a keyword called as exception, and followed by whatever the exceptions you want to handle. You can handle those exceptions in when class. Okay, fine. And then so this is the syntax we have seen yesterday. We'll come to the syntax next. So these exceptions are three types in Oracle, right? So predefined Oracle server errors, they have exception error code as well as what? Name, right? So while we handle the exceptions, we handle them by its name, right? So every exception in the PLSQL has a code, error code, and error name, exception name, right? So approximately there are 20 errors are defined as what? Predefined Oracle server errors. So these predefined Oracle server errors, which we can directly handle, right? So we don't need to declare them, we can directly handle them. On the other hand, in the Oracle server errors, you have one more category called as non-predefined Oracle server errors. We have one more category called as non-predefined Oracle server errors, right? So this predefined Oracle server errors as well as non-predefined Oracle server errors, both are raised by Oracle only. Both are raised by Oracle. As a programmer, we need to handle them, right? But these non-predefined Oracle server errors, they don't have any name. Other Oracle standard errors, apart from these 20, rest of all are non-predefined Oracle server errors. Means they have error codes, but they don't have any name given. So for such kind of exceptions, you have to give a name. We have to give a name in the declaration section. Then once the name is given to these non-predefined Oracle errors, you can handle them in the exception block. So the difference between predefined Oracle server errors and non-predefined Oracle server errors is predefined Oracle server errors have names. Non-predefined Oracle server errors does not have names. But both are raised implicitly by the Oracle software only, right? So whether it is predefined or non-predefined, both are raised by Oracle only, and we have to handle them inside exception section, right? But when it comes to non-predefined Oracle server errors, you must give a name. You must declare them inside a declaration section of your block, PLSQL block. Okay. So on the other hand, the third type of exceptions are user-defined errors. You have to declare them. So as yesterday we discussed, if you are expecting a password, you are expecting a password from a user, where the password should have some uppercase letters, some digits, some special characters. The user does not give the password in that format. You want to raise exceptions in such cases. That is related to your application, not related to Oracle, because that is the rule you designed for your application, and you want the data to be given in that format in your application. Okay, in such cases, you have to declare your own exception, and then you have to raise it. So declaration of your exception and raising the exception you have to do. But when it comes to Oracle server errors, they are implicitly raised. Whether it is predefined or non-predefined, they are implicitly raised by Oracle server, right? But user-defined exceptions you must raise. You have to declare as well as you must raise them. Okay. They are called as Oracle server errors. But when it comes to user-defined exceptions, who will handle? If you want to handle the exception, you are absolutely free to handle them. Or else, if you want someone to handle, yes, you can handle. Let's say example, as a Oracle developer, I am depending on what? Oracle software to store my data and to fetch the data, or whatever the manipulations you want to do on the data. You are depending on what? Oracle software, and you are asking the Oracle software to perform some action for you. And if it is unable to perform the action for you, it is throwing an exception. It is raising an exception saying, hey user, you are asking me to perform this action, like divide by zero action, or insert null value into what? Not null columns, right? So you are asking me to do this, but I cannot do this for you, and it is raising the error to me. In that case, I am handling it because Oracle is unable to do this job for me. I am depending on Oracle, it is unable to perform this job for me. So that it is raising an exception to me saying, hey user, I am unable to do this. The same way, you define the errors, you define your own exceptions, and you raise them. So who will handle it? You raise them, who will handle it? Absolutely, if you want to handle, you can do that. You want to handle, you can do that, right? So you are writing a program, okay? So you are writing a program, this is your program written by you, right? This is your PLSQL block written by you, right? And some other programmer wants to call your program. It's fine. So you have written a logic for what? Divide by a by b logic you have written here. And some other programmer, instead of he writes this a by b logic, because this logic is already available, he wants to reuse this logic inside his application. Possible, right? He wants to reuse this a by b logic in his application. So instead of rewriting it, so what he is going to do? He is going to take the values from user. His application is going to take the values from user, and some values, a value and b value, is going to take from user. Then he is going to pass these values into your application, into your block, instead of writing his logic, right? So in that case, what your block can do? If this guy is passing a as 10, b is 20, your code will calculate the division of these two and returns what? 5 back to his program. So he no need to rewrite the program, okay? But if this guy supplies b value as 0, what happens? If this guy supplies b value as 0, what happens? Now this program fails. Now in that case, here it can raise an exception. Example I am saying, right? In this case, it can raise an exception. To whom it is going to raise an exception? Because this is the guy who is depending on what? Your program. Your program can raise an exception to this guy, and this guy can handle it. This guy can handle it here in this program, or you can also handle it in this program. But technically, whenever the user-defined exceptions are raised, in application, we ask user-defined exceptions are raised in application. We ask application users who is using your the one who is using your block. We ask them to handle it. We ask this application, right? So we ask this application users to handle it. So this is what we have. So this is a user-defined exception. You are going to declare them. You are going to raise them, and handle can be done by yourself, or this handling can be done by the user who is using your program. They can do it. Okay. Now these are the 3 types of exceptions we have. Yesterday we have seen how to tackle this predefined exception, those which are having some errors. So today we'll continue with how to tackle this, how to handle these non-predefined exceptions. Again, these exceptions are raised by Oracle server, but they don't have any name, right? So before continuing with handling this non-predefined exceptions, I would like to show you one simple example, right? That is, I'm trying to insert a record into a table, the table name called as departments. Departments table, it has so many columns, but I would like to insert one column value called as what? Daddy. Department ID. Daddy. Department ID, comma, department name. Daddy. Right? So I want to handle these. I want to insert these two records, and what values I am going to insert is values. So I'm inserting a department ID called as, let's say, 180, comma, and name I'm inserting as what? Null. Now see here, you got error at the position of null. If you read the error, cannot insert null value into what? Department's table, department name. Okay, so you cannot insert null value into department table, department name. Okay, so, and if you observe this clearly, this error message, you see a exception code here. You see a exception code here, right? So this is the code which is given for this exception. So where you are trying to insert null values into a non-null column, not null column. So this department name in the department table is a not null column. So you can see this. Describe departments. This department name is a not null column, right? But I am trying to insert a null value into this column, and it is giving me an exception. Oracle is throwing an exception saying, "Boss, I cannot do this for you." And this is the error which has given to me, error code which has given to me. So this error is, this exception is a non-predefined exception. Why this exception is a non-predefined exception? So this exception does not have a name. This exception does not have any name, right? Now how to handle this exception? Let's say I'm going to write the same inside my PLSQL program, the insert query. The same insert query I'm writing now in my PLSQL program. Now see here, it is saying what the same error. You got the same error, right? Right? Fine. Now to handle this. So when I have this insert query in my PLSQL program, someone can miss out the department name while inserting the values. Now how to handle this exception now? This is a non-predefined exception, right? So whenever you have this non-predefined exception, when you have non-predefined exception, so actually this is also raised by Oracle only. So Oracle is raising this exception and saying, I cannot insert this null value into this. Now how to handle this?
Error codes, right? What is that for?
Which one?
See, like there is one error code 01400.
Yeah, this is the actual error code.
The other one?
The other one is, I think it's a very generic one. I'm not sure about it, right? It's and these errors we got, these two error codes we got when we have used the previous yesterday's errors. Also we got 06512 at line 2. I need to see actually.
Okay.
I will tell you, right? No problem.
No problem.
So this is the actual error code. This 06512, maybe it's actually, it is showing the line number here, Oracle line number, and I guess it is something related to lines, I guess. Fine. So if you see this, when I directly inserted this query into the table, there is only one raised. There is another one given to you. If you directly see this insert query, this is the error code we got. But when I write this inside this executable section, there you got the error code, and it is showing the line number actually. Maybe it is something related to line number. Maybe internally. So maybe it is internally used by Oracle to track line numbers or something like that, I guess. Okay, but I'll let you know what is the meaning of this. No problem. Fine. Now, how do I handle this error code? Fine. So for which error is raised by Oracle server, and there is error code also. Okay. Now, because this does not have a name, we should give a name to this. So that declaration of a name we do in the in declaration section of a PLSQL block. Declare, okay, and because we have to give a name, and this name we are going to give to an exception. So we need to declare a variable. Let's say null underscore, okay, insert null exception. Okay, so I'm just giving a name, just a variable name, and this name for which one you want to use. This name you want to use for which type, right? So this name is of exception type. There's a variable declaration. You did this, right? I is equal to I number and j number, right? Name of varchar, like this you might have did it. Okay. Now this is the variable I'm declaring of type what? This is a variable I'm declaring of type exception. Right? Now next. So now what I need to do here, I have a variable which is declared of type exception, right? So it is something like this, I number, okay, which is of very much equal to what? I number. Now I want this I want this name to be assigned to exception code, isn't it? And the code is 01400, right? This is the code we need to assign this name, and we to do it we use a keyword called as pragma. This is the Oracle keyword, right? Pragma is a keyword. So pragma is a Oracle keyword. So which is going to instruct, right? What is the pragma is going to do here? So this is going to instruct the compiler saying, right? It is going to instruct the compiler saying, now I am going to assign a name to, I want to assign a name to what? A code. Okay. And this is, exceptions are called as non-predefined exceptions. You can drop them by using pragma. So what is pragma? Pragma is the keyword. So what it is going to do, that signifies that the statement is compiler directive. So we are saying, we are indicating the Oracle compiler. Now this name you assign to some code. Now how are we going to assign this? For which we are going to use a function. The spelling is pragma exception underscore init. So this is a predefined function. We'll talk about functions anyway. It is something like predefined functions. If you recollect, we worked with some predefined functions like upper, lower, square root, floor, C, like this, right? So this is one of the predefined function. So what is this predefined function is going to do is, it is going to assign a exception code. This is the exception code which we got, right? So this is the exception code which we got, and it is going to assign that exception code to a name. So what is the name I declared? I declared a name called as insert underscore null underscore e. Right? Now if you observe now, we declared a variable of type exception. We declared a variable of type exception. Now with the help of exception init, in inbuilt function, we have assigned this code to this name. And this assignment should happen, right, by compiler. So we are indicating compiler and all, right? So we are instructing compiler that we want this exception code to be assigned to what? This name, right? Now we have we have defined, we have given name. So we are not creating our own exception, right? Remember this. We are not creating our own exception. Yes, we have created a variable of exception type, but we are assigning that variable to an error code. We assigned this variable to error code, right? And this we did the with the help of what? Exception init method. Okay. Now, how to handle this exception? Same. Now I'm going to write a begin. Now I'm going to insert the same record. Now I'm going to insert the same record. Now we know that this insertion will throw us a exception, and the code of this exception is this one. Now because we have given the name to this exception, now we are able to handle it. Exception when what exception occurs? The name of the exception is insert underscore null underscore e. This is the name I gave. Then now what you want to do? Just I want to print dbms underscore output dot put underscore line, some message which you want to print. Okay, what is it? Let's say I want to print right exception card or not null value. Null value cannot be inserted, something. Null value cannot be inserted into what? Department name. Okay, now I have exception block. When that exception occurs, then what you want to do? And semicolon. Let's execute this. There is error actually. It says something is not properly terminated. Quoted string not properly terminated. Where is that string I have used? Okay, fine. That error is there inside my this mirror message printing. Actually here I have used one single quotations. So what Oracle is stating from here to here, it is stating as what? One string, and it is assuming this is not a string, isn't it? So from here to here it is stating as one string, and this one does not have any open, so there is a problem. So because of single quotation here in the middle. Okay, let me copy this. Yeah. Now how can I have this special symbol? Now this has a meaning in Oracle, right? So whenever you use this special symbol, this single quotation, what does it mean? It reads in between, whatever you have in between this special symbol, it treats it as what? A string. But I want to print this. I want to print this onto my console. Can I print this single quotation? Can I print this single quotation, right? So if you want to print such kind of special characters, right? Because when you use underscore is treated as what? Some special character. It's treated as what? Some special character, right? So if I want to print these single quotations kind of things onto my console, is there any way to print? So you can try giving this escape symbol. When you try giving this escape symbol, now this is not treated as what? A starting or ending of a string. It is treated as a normal what? Single quotation. Let's try after this escape symbol. This is called as escape character, right? Let me check whether it is going to print me or not. It says the same actually. Quoted string does not terminate properly. Okay. Let me try this way. So if you want to print that single quotation along with your output, I think you have to use this escape characters. Okay. says the same actually. Is this? Yes, this is the escape character actually. Okay, I'll tell you. Time being, let me remove these special characters and I'll show you how to write these special characters. Right, so what is error now? Name exception expected for the first argument exception in pragma. It says this is not correct. So I'm saying it says what? Name is expected as first argument and it is expecting the code in the next. Is it? Right. So I reversely used it. So in the syntax, it is expecting the name first. Okay. Read the exception, read the error, you will understand what exactly it is expecting. This case name is the first argument I am expecting, not the code. Okay. And this is the where I made a mistake. I reversely wrote them. Let me correct them. So first is the name and next is the code. So this is how you have to fix the errors. Fine. I think this time it should run successfully. Right. So one more thing I missed out is set server output on. Null value cannot be inserted into department name. Right. So first thing is this is a non predefined exception. So non predefined exceptions you have to declare a variable. Right. So you have to declare a variable for non predefined exceptions. Okay. And then you have to register that variable with the exception code. For which exception code you want this name to be assigned. We do this assignment with help of pragma is a pre-compiler instruction. A keyword helps the compiler to instruct it, and this is a function which is going to register this name with this code, right? So this function takes the name first and the code next, and then whenever you are trying to insert a null value, it is this exception is caught now. But the question here is very important question: who raised this exception? Who raised this exception? Raising means who has thrown this exception in your program. Is it thrown by you or is it thrown by Oracle software?
User.
Who thrown it? Who has thrown this exception? Saying, boss, I cannot action for you.
Oracle has thrown
Or-
this.
Oracle, not user, right? Oracle has thrown it when it is trying to insert a null value. When it is trying to insert a null value, what Oracle is throwing? Oracle is saying, I cannot do this. Okay? They cannot insert a null value. So Oracle is throwing it and we are handling it. Oracle has raised it. Because it is a non-predefined exception, we have to declare it and we have to assign that code to an name. But here exception is raised by Oracle. I'll tell you what is the meaning of raising an exception when I discuss what? User-defined exceptions. Okay? So this is actually raised by Oracle. Fine. Any questions you have on this?
No, Kranti.
Classroom.
Sir.
We executed the program.
Classroom.
Yes, sir. It's clear.
Okay. Fine. So this is exception is raised by Oracle, but exception is raised by Oracle, but handled by us, but by declaring it non-predefined exception. So what is user-defined exception then? Anyone? What is user-defined exception?
User creates
User
exceptions.
creates the
and-
exception,
Yes.
and who will raise the exception?
Still the Oracle server is.
Always Oracle raise. Yeah.
Only Oracle raises this exception. Okay,
Yes.
so this exception is raised by Oracle only. Let me try this. Just escape character. I'm directly writing this. This one. No, actually escape character should be slash. Okay. Why it's not working? No, I'll tell you what is this escape character. It should treat it as escape character actually. No, not double quotation. Definitely no. Fine anyway. Now what I'm going to do is now we are going to create a user-defined exceptions, and we'll see how to handle it. So the requirement is like this. So I want to take some values from keyboard. Okay. Right. So right. So now before we see how to handle this user-defined exceptions, now I will show you one thing. This one. The same example. Now there may be a question, how would I know what is the error code I am going to get? Okay. What is the error code I am going to get? How would I know that error code? Okay. So what I am going to do is, so what I am going to do here is, you have a keyword called as, there are two keywords. One is error code. The other one is what? Error message. Right? So we can use this error code and error message. Fine. So I am going to print this error codes and error messages to know what exactly the code you have, right? So when some other type of exceptions occurs, I don't know what is the type of exceptions occurred, right? But I want to know what is the code of this exception and what is the message of this exception. So there are two keywords you have given, right? There are two keywords given. One second, guys. Sorry for that. So SQL so there are two keywords you have. One is SQL code, which can tell you what is the exception code, and there is the other one called as error message, right? So just I want to print SQL code, and the other one is SQL ERRM, is it? ERRM. So what are these going to do? These two keywords help you to capture the error codes and messages. Fine. Let me run this. So these are predefined two attributes. Predefined two attributes which can help you to get the error code and error message. Now I'm not handling it. I wrote others here. Let's see what I'm going to get here. Fine. You see here, you got error code. Fine. And error message. Message is not printed actually, but I need to indent something. Spaces I need to add so that it is easy. Where is that pipe? Here. I've added space between them so that it is easy for you to understand. You can see. So this is the error message. Says what? Cannot insert null value into HR department. And this is your error code. So SQL error code is giving you, right, the actual code of the error, and message is giving you what? Message. So if you don't know what type of error codes and all, it is difficult to handle them, right? So how to handle such kind of error codes and messages? So you have a keywords. Two keywords can help you to identify the error codes, right? So this is the error code. Keyword SQL code is a keyword, and SQL ERRM is one more keyword which can help you to get this error codes and error messages. Fine. And based on these error codes and error messages, in your exception section, if you want to perform some other operation, you can perform. Okay. So as I told you in the previous yesterday's class, exception section is nothing but writing alternate logic. So that alternate logic can be any logic. That alternate logic can be any logic, right? So you can have printing the error messages or insert queries, delete queries, whatever you want to do, you can do. So here in this example, if whenever there is a error is occurred, that error related information is stored into some errors table for future track. Okay. So these are the two keywords we have: SQL error code and SQL error message, right? So this can be used to identify what is the code and what is the message of your exception. The next one is user defined exceptions. What is this user defined exceptions? How to trap them, right? Right. So again, some simple example I'm going to take for this, the one which is there in the PDF itself. So we are trying to update department name this time. We are trying to update the department name. Okay. Update which table? Departments. Set department underscore name is equal to, I'm going to read this name from keyboard. Let's say test, and I'm going to update where department underscore ID is equal to some value, some ID I'm going to take. So both values I'm reading from keyboard. It is asking the value for name I could have given. So right, so I'm giving test as the name, and it is asking for me the ID. So department ID, I'm giving 203 as department ID. Now it says what? 0 rows are updated. Why it says 0 rows updated? Why it says 0 rows updated? Now I'm giving a
It
name as
doesn't have any ID.
correct. 205. It says what? It's not error. Is it exception? It's not exception. You're asking the Oracle to update a department name by taking department ID.
Wait.
And it is taking the department ID and name, but it's not updating. And this is what your query, because There is no department ID 205, isn't it? If there is a department ID 205, it could have updated it. Because there is no department ID 205, it is not updating. But it is not exception. It's not the Oracle failure, right? This is not the failure. Says I have updated, but means I have updated 0 rows. There is no row matching to that condition. Now, how would I raise the error for these kind of scenarios?
No record found like that.
Now, in that case, I need to tell user, boss, you have given a wrong department ID which is not present in a database. I need to tell user saying, boss, you are trying to update a record, but this department ID is not there in the database. This is not Oracle raised error. But I need to tell user saying, this record is not found, and I was unable to update this record because there is no 205 department ID is not found. How would I tell this? This is also error, right? So in that case, you can take the help of what? User defined exceptions, right? So what you need to do in the user defined exceptions? Same, fine. So you have to declare your own exception. So this is a little confusing between what? Non-predefined exceptions and user defined exceptions, right? So here also you have to declare your own exception, saying, boss, you are asking me, your program has to update the department ID, which is unable to do it. You need to inform the user, please give us the correct department ID. Okay. So for which I am creating exception here, invalid department, and whenever he tries to insert this department, whenever he tries to insert it, whenever he tries to update the department by giving a department number, if this record is not updated, right? I hope you know what is this keyword. Not found means what? There are no rows updated. The previous query does not update any queries, any records. The previous query does not update any records of your table. So wherever no record updated, right? So this will store what? True. Is the previous query executed successfully by updating the records? If it is yes, you have two keywords, right? SQL found and SQL not found. Found will return if there are some modifications occurred by the previous query. That returns true. If there are no modifications occurs, SQL not found returns what? True. Okay. So now this is the change. What I am trying to do here? What I am trying to do here? What I am trying to do here? What is the raise keyword?
Raising one exception.
Raising an exception. Previously, non-predefined exceptions, we declared a variable and then we try to insert a not null value. We try to insert a null value. Who has raised the exception there?
Raised. Now the user should raise it.
Here the user is raising the exception. Previously, the exception is raised by
Oracle.
Correct. Okay. Okay. Fine. So this is what you have. So as a programmer, you have you have decided, right? If the department ID is given wrong, you are going to raise an exception. You are going to raise an exception. Okay. Let's say you are asking a user to insert a. You are asking a user to give a password, as I told you, right? The user is given a wrong password. What you are going to do? You are going to declare exception wrong password, and you are going to raise the exception by using what? Raise keyword. You are going to raise the exception by raise keyword. So this is the exception called, this type of exceptions called as what? User defined. You declare an exception, you raise it. You declare exception and you raise it when that rule is violated. When that rule is violated, you raise them. But as I told you, handling, that's your choice, whether you want to handle it or whether you want some user, some other application developer to handle it, right? So we'll try this now. Well, the same thing. Now here in this example, the exception is declared, exception is raised by a raise keyword, and exception is also handled. So see here, if you observe which exception is handled, what is that exception which is handled here? The one which we declared.
Yes.
Now the question is, can I use pragma keyword to give a code to these kind of exceptions also?
Yes, with the name we can give, but code also we need.
Can I give code to this exception, the one which I have declared, and I am raising it? See here, I am myself, I am raising it. Can I give exception code to this exception also?
Yes, sir.
We can give, no problem. You can give a code to this exception with the help of what? Pragma keyword, no problem. You can do that. If you don't give, some error code will be given to this exception implicitly, right? Fine. So what is the difference between non-predefined and predefined? Anyone? What is the difference between non-predefined exceptions and user-defined exceptions? Sorry,
Non-predefined is raised by Oracle.
Oracle, and we handle it
We
correctly.
handle it.
Yes.
And whereas user-defined is created and raised.
You have to raise it, right?
Yes.
If you
Yes.
don't raise
Yeah.
this, user-defined exceptions never be raised, right? We'll try both ways. Let me copy this code into this. This is user-defined exception. Okay, let me arrange this. Fine. I'm not going to take them. Let me take them from keyboard. Those two values. This is your update query. Where department ID I'm going to take from keyboard, okay, for which I'm going to use ampersand department ID. This also I'm going to take from what? Keyboard, okay, single quotations ampersand department name, okay, race. So technically you are not going to handle this. Commit, can we use a commit inside PLSQL block?
Yes, we can.
We can. Transaction related commands, right? So this is exception block, and this is the exception handling section, okay. So what we do is, I will remove this if condition where I am not raising the exception, okay, where I am not raising the exception. Fine. Fine. So let me copy this. What happens? Let's see. Fine. So I am copying this. I did not raise the exception. I'm still trying to update the record. I declared my exception. I'm handling it, but I did not raise it. Let's say 204 and department name, some testing. You see here, encountered symbol when expecting one of the following. What is the symbol? It says this syntax error actually. Oh, end if I have forgot to remove. There is no if condition at all. I need to remove that end if also, isn't it? I don't have if condition at all. Okay. Department name. It should be testing department ID 203. You see here, there is no exception raised. Is the exception raised here? This says what procedure is successfully completed without updating any record. There is no exception raised. I have declared the exception. I have handled it. But when there is no department is updated, when there is no department updated, still it is not giving me the proper message. Okay. It's not giving me the proper message whether the department is updated or not updated. Is it? It says what? Simply procedure is successfully completed, but I don't know whether this is updated or not. If this department number is not found, when the rows are not updated, I want to do what? I want to throw an exception saying what? The records are not updated properly. So how would I go do this now? Now I am going to write if SQL percentile not found means no record is updated, then what do you want to do? I want to raise one error. This error I am raising on my own. Oracle is not raising any error. Now what is the error I want to code? What is it? Department. If I don't raise this, definitely as a user you don't know whether the record is updated or not updated. Okay? Fine. Now, what I am doing now, I am checking whether my previous query has successfully updated the record or not. Now, if the record is not updated, I am checking, right? If the records are not updated, then raise the error. And I'm going to terminate my if condition, if and if. Okay. Now let's see what happens. Because I raised the exception now, let's see what happens with this program. Enter the value for department name testing, and I give again 204. You see here, it says what? Now you can see the message. It says what? But the department you are trying to update, there is no department ID found. Previously, if you observe, this is the output. There is no message confirming that whether the department is updated or not updated. Right? Now, previously there is no message which confirming us whether the department is updated or not. Now, when I give a wrong department ID, I am checking if the row is successfully updated or not. The row is not updated. I myself raising an error with the help of what? A raise keyword. And what happens if I don't handle this exception here? What happens if I don't handle this exception? So
Doesn't give any message.
I just want to raise the exception, but I don't want to handle it. Possible? Can I do that?
So
Can I do that? Now what will happen in this case?
will
There
not
is
show
exception
any
declared.
message, sir.
There is an exception raised.
But
What will happen?
but it doesn't show any message, sir. What
Right.
error we got, like that.
Right. So let's see what happens here. Enter the department name. Let's say this time I say Java and 206. It says what? See here. There is exception is raised and it is unhandled. You see that? Exception is raised and it is unhandled. Error at line 1. So it is asking asking me to what? Unhandled exceptions. Whenever you have unhandled exceptions, you must do what? Someone has to handle it. Otherwise, it leads to an abnormal termination. Fine. But actually, what it is saying, yeah. So that is what? Fine. So exception is raised but not handled. Same thing. But this time the exception is raised by the user. It has given some implicit codes and all. That is a different story. Fine. So this is how you create what? This is how you declare user-defined exceptions in Java. Fine. You declare a user-defined exception, a variable of type exception, and then you use what? Raise keyword to raise it. So there are some scenarios. You have to define your own scenarios, when to raise the exception, when not to raise the exception. You have to define some scenarios like this. Okay. You have any questions on this? What is the difference between non-predefined exception and user-defined exception?
No problem.
Classroom.
Yes, sir.
Fine. And there is one more, right? So one more implicit function you have actually, that is called as raise application error. So it's like you might have seen in some programming languages, you want some error to be raised, and after that you want, as a programmer, you want to terminate the application forcibly. Right? So you want to report some severe errors. After that error, there is no application execution happens. Right? In Java, like if I take the example system.exit, you want to forcibly terminate your program. As a programmer, you want to terminate it. Now in such cases, you have a procedure given here. You have a procedure given. That procedure is what? Raise application error. Now whenever you write this raise application error, what will happen? Right, it's just terminating your application forcibly kind of thing. Now here I'm having begin, right? No end if, no commit, just a simple begin. And I'm having here a DBMS statement, okay? Okay, so here, let's say I'm going to write a statement 1, right? So I'm going to write statement 2. Now here in between statement 1 and statement 2, what I'm going to use? I'm going to use a procedure called as raise application error. Okay, so I'm giving a message. Programmatically terminated. Site terminated, right? Let's see whether it works or not. And you can give some code to this, but this is, you cannot handle this. The difference is this is going to raise, as well as when it is raised, your application is going to be terminated. Okay, so first is the error code actually, second is the message. So you can give some code. The first argument is the code, some code, and you wanted to terminate this application forcibly. Okay, now let's see what happens here when I run this. You cannot handle these exceptions. You wanted, this is not exception, you want to terminate your application forcibly.
Sir, in the exception, you have given code before and a message after. That is
Right,
what
correct.
is
That is the syntax. That is the syntax. Okay. Code first and the message next. That is the syntax.
Still got
here.
error. Okay, sir.
Error number followed by message. You can write whatever the error number. This is not this error number should not be predefined one. You can write any number, but it's recommended to take these error numbers after 20,000. Okay. Now let's see what happens here. I don't need declare because I don't have any declarations here.
My name is Polish.
Okay. programmatically terminated. You see here, statement 1 is printed. You see, statement 1 is printed. Okay. And after that statement 1, what I am trying to do here, I am trying to terminate my program wantedly. So to terminate the program wantedly, you can use what? Raise underscore application error, which you cannot handle it. It's not exception to catch and handle it. So if you want to terminate exception, there are some scenarios, forcibly terminate. There is no situation to come out. Then you want to terminate the programs. Then you can use this procedure, raise underscore application underscore error, where I am supplying a code and a name. Now if you see here, this is a code which I have given 20201, and this is a message I given. Now this is terminated, and you see this statement is not printed. Why this statement is not printed? Because before that statement we have forcibly terminated our program by using raise underscore application underscore error. You can do this. Some other programming languages, Java like this, they also support you such mechanism like system.exit. Now as a user you want to terminate it, right? So now this is the same thing, but you cannot handle this, except this is not exception, right? So you cannot handle it. You want to terminate the application on your own by writing some condition. That's your choice. If you want to write some condition to terminate like this, not found, then terminate it. Or when there is no data found in your while you're searching, then terminate it. Like this, you want to terminate your application forcibly, you can do that. But I'm not writing any if condition. I'm not writing any if condition. Directly I wrote this procedure in my PLSQL block. Okay, fine. So this is all about exceptions. 3 categories of exceptions: predefined exception, non-predefined exception, and user-defined exception. So predefined exceptions will be raised. Predefined exceptions and non-predefined exceptions will be raised by Oracle. We have to handle them. But non-predefined exceptions, before handling, we have to declare them and we have to give error code. Okay. And for predefined exceptions, no need to do anything. Just all you need to write exception handler. User-defined exception, you have to declare exception. You have to raise the exception by using raise keyword. You have to raise it by raise keyword. If you want to handle, you can handle it by writing handler, exception handler. And the last one is, if you want your program to be terminated,
Yes, sir.
you can use raise underscore application underscore error procedure. That is going to terminate your program. And after that termination, none of the statements get executed. Before that, you see here it is executed, printed, and after raising, your application is terminated. This code is not executed, and that is the message which is printed onto your console. Okay, so you can also do that forcible termination
Yes, sir.
of your programs. Right. So this is all about PLSQL blocks. This is all about PLSQL blocks. Okay. So as we discussed in the initial section, PLSQL blocks contains 3 pieces, right? Declaration section, executable section, and exception section. So we have completed all the 3 sections, but all we tried with the anonymous blocks. All we tried with what? Anonymous blocks. So whatever the codes we have created since almost 3 days, none of the code is reusable. And none of the code is stored onto your database. Okay. All we have created are anonymous blocks. Now giving a name to these anonymous blocks become what? Subprogram. Okay. So giving a name to this anonymous blocks become a subprogram. And there are 2 types of subprograms. One is called as procedure and the other one is called as function. Okay. Now we'll try to see what is the procedures and what is the functions in coming sessions. I don't think maybe tomorrow we'll discuss what is procedure and how to create functions. All same, I will show you one simple example. So as I told you, we'll go back to our previous codes, array code. Okay. Okay, let's go to this. This one switch one. Oh, not the switch one. Let's. Yeah. This one I'm going to do. So adding the numbers using switch cases. Now I'm going to give a name. I'm going to give a name. So for which I'm just replacing the declare keyword with what? Create procedure. This syntax. Procedure name. What is my procedure? It is going to perform what? Mathematical calculation, right? So I call it as what? I call it as calculator. Right? I have created a procedure with the name calculator. So let me create it. Control C, Control V. Only one change. Just I am giving a name. Right? Let me see this. Yeah. Okay, it is asking for value for A, value for B, value for option. There is error. There is error in creating it. Let me slightly modify it. Fine. So actually, so instead of taking the values here, I'll directly take the values here. It's not needed to take the values. A number, comma, B number, comma, option, number. There is small error. This should work actually. Yeah. Okay. It says what procedure already name is used because I have created previous procedure with the same name calculator. Okay. I'm going to use replace. Again, it says procedure created with compile time errors. So actually, I can see the errors by show errors. What it says? Okay, there is a syntax error. Sorry. I should use a keyword called as is begin. I should use a keyword called as is begin. Okay. That is procedure created. Okay. Now this is a named block. This is a named block. Fine. Now I can execute it after any time. So I can use execute keyword. I can use execute keyword. What is my procedure name? Calculator by passing what values? 10, 20 and option 2. You see here it says what? A minus B is equal to 10. Can I reuse it?
Yes, sir, you can use.
Alright, so this is how you can create the procedures. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow, guys. So, fine. I'm stopping the session now.